United Nations news by the Universal Versatile Society, casting a bright light on the latest developments from the United Nations. Our headlines for today are: 1. Local stories will drive global climate change target for 2030. 2. WHO suggests stricter rules to protect kids from the bad effects of food marketing. 3. UN launches Clean and Healthy Oceans initiative to combat land-based pollution. 4. UN declares arrival of climate-hidden El Niño event. 5. New strategic framework to support women in Afghanistan by UN. 6. World Bank approves $1.5 billion to accelerate energy transition in India. 7. Developing countries face $4 trillion investment gap in SDG. So let's discuss these topics in more detail. Local stories will drive global climate change target for 2030. Stories told by communities through their own voices, maps and experiences will help drive global climate change and meet the target of 30% biodiversity conservation target by 2030. The phrase 30 multiplied by 30 refers to a new international policy and emerging movement that calls for the conservation of at least 30% of the Earth's biodiversity by 2030. It informs us that a target of at least 30% is needed if we are to stop and reverse the rapid decline of biodiversity. And one way to do this is through stories that capture our shared passion for indigenous and local community-led conservation. WHO suggests stricter rules to protect kids from the bad effects of food marketing. WHO has put out a new set of rules about how to keep children safe from the bad effects of food marketing. The guideline recommends that governments implement comprehensive obligatory regulations to safeguard all children from the promotion of HFSS foods and drinks. Recent studies on how food marketing impacts children's health, eating habits, and food beliefs led to the new recommendations. In conclusion, food marketing still harms public health through influencing children's food choices and intake. It also affects children's food and portion perceptions. UN launches Clean and Healthy Oceans initiative to combat land-based pollution. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, is leading a new initiative along with partner agencies to tackle land-based pollution in coastal areas. The Clean and Healthy Oceans initiative, co-led by FAO, Asian Development Bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and Development Bank of Latin America, aim to direct up to $115 million in grants to clean up coastal areas. The initiative will map sources of ocean pollution, address hypoxia effects, and develop nature-based solutions to protect marine ecosystems and human lives. The partnership aligns with the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. UN declares arrival of climate-hidden El Niño event. The UN's World Meteorological Organization WMO has declared the arrival of a climate-hidden El Niño event, which combined with human-caused carbon emissions poses a double whammy effect leading to extreme weather events. The last major El Niño in 2016 resulted in the hottest year on record. The WMO warns that preparation for extreme weather is crucial to protect lives and livelihoods. The El Niño event is predicted to continue until the end of 2023 at a moderate or high strength. It can trigger record-breaking temperatures and exacerbate heatwaves, droughts, and floods in different regions across the globe. New strategic framework to support women in Afghanistan by UN. The United Nations in Afghanistan unveiled a new strategic framework highlighting the fundamental human needs in the country for 2023-2025. The strategic framework focuses on the needs and rights of the most vulnerable demographics, including women and children, youth, refugees and internally displaced persons, as well as ethnic and religious minorities. One of the most pertinent priorities in the framework would be to enable environments that facilitate economic growth and provide decent work opportunities for women. Additionally, it would prioritize inclusion, gender equality, human rights, and rule of law. World Bank approves $1.5 billion to accelerate energy transition in India. The World Bank has approved $1.5 billion to support low-carbon energy development in India. The funding will accelerate scaling up of renewable energy by cutting costs and enhancing power grid integration, support development of green hydrogen technology, and stimulate climate financing for low-carbon energy investments. India has committed to achieve 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030 and plans to phase down fossil fuel-based energy sources over time. These targets are in line with the country's goal to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2070. Developing countries face $4 trillion investment gap in SDG. A new UNCTAD report reveals that developing countries are facing a $4 trillion gap in sustainable development investments. While renewable energy investments have grown significantly, poorer nations have been left behind, with over 30 developing countries not receiving any international investment in renewable energy since the adoption of the Paris Agreement in 2015. The report emphasizes the need for increased material support for renewable energy in developing countries to achieve global climate goals by 2030. It also highlights the challenges faced by foreign direct investment and calls for policies and financing mechanisms to attract necessary investments in developing countries. This was Alexandra for the United Nations News. Stay tuned for our next episode.